So this tree was really big, really tall, and it produced not as well as it should have because it was full of parasites and etc. And so we cut it back to this one main trunk and this branch, and pretty much all of the growth, the new growth, came out of the branch and sort of creating a second trunk which goes up. And then we cut that because it was just shooting up vertically also. We cut that right about there. It's hard to see because it's backlit. Let's see. Right about there. We cut it back so that it would sprout more branches, which it did. And now it's looking pretty full. And I'd like for it to flower and give some fruit next year, but flowering would have to be starting very soon. So I don't know if we're going to make it, but we might. Some of this older growth down here might flower. So we'll have to see. In the next month we'll know. So coming down from these two trees, which sort of mark the top of what I call the avocado slope. We just need names for things because otherwise we'd constantly be having to describe the place we're talking about. So so I thought we'd do an avocado slope tour today. So here I am on this avocado slope, and here are some beautiful ginger flowers. And this was a ginger planting I did pretty soon after moving here. And there's another one over there by that other avocado tree, and there's several more that I did more recently down below. So one thing I wanted to show is some earthworks that I've done, and you can't really see them because there's a lot of overgrowth. Let's cut right there. And now we see here, there's a step. So I cut steps, a staircase basically, all the way down this slope. And in addition to the steps, I also cut what I call swalecitos, which is swales, small, tiny swales. Technically, they're not really swales because swales are completely level in order to make the water stop and sink. This, obviously, as you can see here, is one of them. It's also a path. Is not completely level. It just goes across the slope. But it does really help to slow down the water and sink it in. Here's a Valencia orange, also backlit. This is not a great angle for filming right now, is it? And this Valencia orange has been enjoying more sun since we pruned back that avocado tree above it, but it's going to get more shade soon because that avocado tree is definitely coming back. I don't know if you can see how much this tree is loaded with fruit. Unfortunately, it's not the sweetest fruit. And here, if we go, here's this Valencia. Now we go right over here. There's another one. From what I can tell, it is exactly the same. It's Valencia orange, and it has almost no fruit because it has been in pure shade, total shade, until just about a month ago. I see that there's sun coming through there because I cut some of this other avocado branches. There they are on the ground now, in order to give it some sun. This tree right next door has super sweet fruit, and I have no explanation for that. So unfortunately, the one that has a huge production has the not as sweet fruit. So we come over here on going across the Avocado Slope, and here's our Nispero trees. Nispero is sapodilla in English. You can see they're fruiting quite a bit, but these fruit are about half the size of the fruit they give. Most of them are of the fruit they give during their real season. This is off-season fruit. Off-season fruit generally are eaten by the birds because they just aren't that great. They generally don't ripen evenly, and they often have worms inside. So they're great for, actually, for our chickens. Here's another one of those ginger plants I told you about, more recent. There's another one. There's several along. There's also turmeric around here I planted. There's a turmeric plant here. There's several more. There's another one. Here we have a coffee tree. This coffee tree was a beautiful, full, lush critter that we had over on the other side, our original property. And then we had some thefts of coffee plants. And I did not want to lose this tree because this tree is from a seed, from a Kona coffee seed. Kona being Hawaiian coffee, right? And when we had a whole lot of coffee over there on the other side, all of it succumbed to two different fungus, one that attacks the leaves and the other that attacks the fruit. And so I basically just eliminated most of those trees. This tree was completely fungus free on its own accord, like its own resistance. So I wanted to save this tree and its sister, which is this one over here, which you can see recovered much better from the transplant than this one, which, as you can see, looks dead. But it's not. It's coming, but wow, is it taking forever. The poor thing has really struggled, mostly because it's more in the sun. This one was in total shade, and so it was much easier for it to come back. And it actually even has some fruit on it. It fruited a little bit. You can see there. So meanwhile, from this tree, this poor struggling tree, we got about 35 progeny, which are all, small plants right now that are in bags up on the balcony. And in the next rainy season, next year, we'll be planting those out to see if they hopefully have the same resistance as their mama. So here, again, to show we're below these two rather large Nispero trees that are full of fruit. I only wish they were full of fruit I could eat. I do love this fruit, but right now it's just not the best time. So going down, we continue down. This is on the far edge of the avocado slope. We come down here, and we come to a cara navel tree, which is navel orange, red navel orange. This was another one that was getting shaded out by this Nispero, and I cut back the Nispero, and now you can see it's, or maybe you can see, it's putting on a lot of new leaves because it's in the sun and it's excited. It's also got some fruit. Oh, there's a fruit that got hit by a bird before we could get to it. This is one of the things that happens when you live with wildlife. They eat your food. So I have bird netting that I could potentially put on this tree to protect the remaining fruit. I might do that, actually. Anyway, so coming across here, I wanted to show here are more of those little mini swales that I cut. There's one. See that there. Here's another one. That was partly natural, actually, this one. I just helped it along. And then here are more. This one goes all the way across from this side to that side. And we follow it. It really helps to be able to walk on this slope, to have these. And here's the stairway, right, that goes up. There's that Valencia orange, still backlit. So here's a small navel. We have several of these trees. I don't know what is the variety, but it's a small navel type orange, really compact tree. As you can see, this tree is really tiny and doesn't seem to really grow much, and they are not producing this year. I don't think any of them are producing anything. One of the reasons I think our citrus doesn't produce as well as it should is that the fruiting time comes right after the dry season. So they really suffer during the dry season, and then right after suffering so much, they're expected to put on fruit, which is asking a lot of a tree. So basically, they're just trying to, you know, drink some water and feel better. And now you're asking them to produce. And so, one thing I'm hoping is that all of these mini swales are going to help bring more water into the soil, deep into the soil, where these trees can access them, have more water, access to more water for longer during the dry season, so that then they won't suffer the dry season so much. And then maybe near the end of the dry season, we'll actually irrigate and see if that helps. So there's another one of those that near the bottom. That one there is another one of the same oranges. And they're really sweet, delicious fruit. Just they're small though. Anyway, so coming along here, I'll take the stairs. If I can find them. Here, I'm going to do some more trimming so I can see the stairs I'm walking on. There we go. And here's a rootstock of an avocado. Those birds are called guacharacas, and they are similar to a chicken, but they fly. But they have their cry, their song. That's their song. It's rather scandalous, isn't it? So this is a rootstock of an avocado. It used to be a kampong avocado that died, but fortunately it had always been weak. I don't know why, what was up with that tree, but anyway, it died. Just one day it was just dead. It was weak, and then it was just dead. So I planted a rootstock here to take its place, but fortunately I had taken a piece of that tree, of that kampong tree, and grafted it onto a tree in the amphitheater. So we didn't lose the variety. We just lost the tree. So this is a rootstock which will one day be grafted to who knows what, something else. And now you can see again more of these swales. This one, by the way, goes all the way around, following the curve of the mountain, or what is that called in English? It's called, I cannot think of it. So we come around, following the curve, and then we come down here, and here are more steps that I made here. There we go. Closer look at this small orange tree that isn't producing any oranges right now. And now we come down to the foot of the avocado slope. And the foot of the avocado slope butts into the mango grove that I showed in the other video. So here we're just like a small slope above the mango grove. And here's a mango, speaking of which. Hayden mango, I've mentioned it in written posts, I think. It's probably one of maybe 3 grafted mango varieties in Venezuela. It's a classic Florida mango. It has a nice mango flavor, but it's a little fibrous, and it's very prone to anthracnose, which we have a lot of. So it's really not an ideal variety for us. But Danielle loves it. I actually like it too. I like the flavor, I do. But I just know there are so many varieties that will be better here. So that's why I'm bringing these other varieties down, and hoping to have a lot more mangoes of different types. But in the meantime, we have this Hayden. This Hayden tried recently to do 2 big growth spurts, and both times it got knocked out. The growth spurts got knocked out by cutter ants, which happens a lot here. So it has tanglefoot down there. And we come over here, and this is another avocado. This is my Oro Negro avocado. That was my first grafting success. I think with avocado I might have had a citrus before this one, but it was one of my first grafting successes ever. And it was a bud graft that I did. This is a pretty vigorous tree. I'd love for it to give me a fruit or two. And now it's been in the ground for over a year, and it's a pretty big tree. Relatively big. It seems like it should be able to hold 1 or 2 fruits at least. I'd really like to try this variety soon. I also have grafted this one onto another large seedling tree in the amphitheater as well. A cocktail tree that we have over there. Cocktail tree is what we call grafted trees that have multiple varieties on the same tree. And over there is a very sad looking volunteer seedling that we transplanted from where it was too close to the Catalina to there. And I think it's recovering. It just sort of pissed off that it got moved. But it's one more that will be grafted one day to something, who knows what. So we'll have a lot of avocados here in the end. So here's looking up the avocado slope from the foot. And you see that it actually has quite a few other things other than avocado. But it has quite a few avocados as well. And that's it. That's our avocado slope.